Now, like I was saying about this lady with her next steps, they are a vital part of the integration of the truths into your subconscious when we do this clearing. The next steps really help completely remove that belief, and they really help you to see the steps that you are taking in your life. See the things that you can see can make a difference. Now, this lady with her health, I'll just go back a minute. I had been given the message before I connected into her, before we had the call, to make sure she was going to be available for a couple of hours after our session. I didn't know why at the time, I just knew I had to ask her that. And she let me know that she was. So when we did the session, we were working a lot, energetically, mentally, and subconsciously with her and her body. And there was a lot taking place. Now, her next steps were very simple. It was that she was to just lie down for 2 hours after the session, because there was so much that had to take place in her body. And she was to just go for a 5-minute walk. Now, during our session too, she became pain-free and was in the most comfort she had been in for around 20 years. So that was like, wow, this is fantastic. However, 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from her saying the pain was worse than it had ever been in her life. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I just stopped and had a look into her energy. And I said to her, I can see that you actually haven't done your next steps. And I can see that instead of sort of lying down for those 2 hours, you actually got up and started doing housework. And she's like, oh, can you see that? And I'm like, well, yeah, that's being presented to me. She's like, well, I didn't do them. And I was like, well, they're really important steps for that integration to take place. And so we booked in for another session, and I asked her to, please do those next steps. She did them, and I got a message from her to cancel the session because she had said she had followed those steps and she was now pain-free. Now, it was just lying down for 2 hours and a 5-minute walk. But because it seemed so insignificant, the value of its significance wasn't appreciated. For others, it may be a much deeper, harder next step to face that really throw you out of your comfort zone. However, if we want to see great shifts in our lives, if we want to create those shifts in ourselves, then we must be prepared to do something different. We must be prepared to step out of that comfort zone. And we must be prepared to ask ourselves, what does this really mean to me?